we just talk? Can we just talk? Talk about where we're going before we get... Damn, that is a good tune. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Mary Spender and I am a singer-songwriter. And one of the things I personally do to try and improve my songwriting and then also look into developing my music career further is look at the careers of other artists and songwriters and just see what they've done. And I guess I kind of analyse what's going on rather informally. So I kind of want to basically create a series about artists and songwriters that are probably far younger and far more successful than I am. Seeing what makes them popular, and obviously there are so many different variables that can go into an artist's career. There aren't two paths the same, but seeing what makes them popular kind of helps you break down exactly what elements helped, and you might be able to learn something from it. Okay, so the first artist I want to take a look at is Khalid. Why Khalid? Well, other than him being one of the most successful artists on the planet now, of which we can learn a lot from, with 50 million monthly listeners, I think that would do most people. I'm wanting to look at him because he's so young and his career has really blossomed in probably, the last 3 years? Almost 4 years. It's sort of easier to analyse, easier to look at, and yet he's released quite a lot of music in that time. And there are reasons for that, which I will go into later. So I've also made a playlist of his music if you aren't really aware of the actual full productions. I'm not going to include his audio in this video, although this video will still get demonetized because I'm going to play through some of his music. But most of you know where to support this channel if you are willing to do so, either for free just by watching other videos on this channel, other videos I've made, or by streaming my music if you already signed up to a streaming platform, or you can sign up to one of my music courses, either guitar or music production, and obviously there's Patreon. But otherwise, really, let's just get into some analysis of Khalid's career. Some of the songs I have chosen to focus on, and I'm going to be just sort of playing through lightly, Saturday Nights from his Sun City 2018 EP, but then it was put onto his second record. Talk, which is also produced and a collaboration with Disclosure. Then Alive, which was an album track on his most recent record. And then I'm briefly going to touch upon Out of My Head because that's an absolute tune. And then it's also got a killer guitar solo from John Mayer. So then we're going to move on to his background and how he was discovered, his discography, his voice and his sound, work ethic, influences, collaborations, and then I've also mentioned within all of that and within this video a songwriting exercise that I do that might be able to help you write better melodies if you're interested in doing so, and I'll make timestamps in the description too so that you can jump around and look at the things you're actually interested in. But, right, let's get to Saturday Nights. Saturday nights, blueberry cigarillos, switches make my throat hurt. Rolling OCBs on the side for me, light 'em up and let 'em both burn. Family Feud, saying mom's confused, off for shit she doesn't wanna learn. But daddy's gone, say he's never home, and wishing only makes it worse. I guess there's certain dreams that you gotta keep, 'cause they'll only know what you let them say. And all the things that I know that your parents don't, they don't care like I do, nowhere like I do. All the things that I know that your parents don't, they don't care like I do, nowhere like I do, nowhere like I do. So let's look at the lyrics first. Family Feud, say your mum's confused. Daddy's gone, say he's never home, and wishing only makes it worse. Then in the chorus, all the things that I know that your parents don't. Then verse 2, stay up working late at a job you hate, fix your makeup in a dirty bathroom. The storytelling ability in 3.5 minutes, that's not a huge amount of time. So when you're songwriting, and then also, you only have a certain amount of words in a song because you have, your verses, but then chorus, and then maybe a bridge, maybe a middle eight. There's not much room because obviously within those 3.5 minutes, quite a lot of those lyrics are going to be repeated if you want the song to be relatively catchy. So what I love about it is that there's an intimacy between the artist and listener, like you're the person he's speaking to. So he knows your secrets. And that sort of communication is really, really important in songwriting. And the easiest way to do it is, rather than talk about them, they, he, she, it's you. I know things that your parents don't. And it sort of means that the listener has like this ownership and this personal connection with the artist. And it's just a way to communicate to a particular person. So even if the song is actually aimed towards one person that Khalid knows, you're doing it through the masses. That's probably one of my favourite things about songwriting, is that you can aim it at one particular person, whether you love them, whether you hate them, whatever. But then, you're not just singing it directly to them one-on-one, you're singing it to a much broader audience and getting that message across. And then, you're treating your audience like you know them too. So, chord structure wise, I've obviously changed the key for my vocal range. So the chords, there are just 4. They're repeated over and over. So even if the capo was on the 3rd fret, I probably still refer to these chords in the same way. So I would say C over G, G, E minor, just a slightly different version, and then D, add 11 over A. And what I like about the guitar part is that it's not just sort of chords, it's not just which is probably initially what I would write. Just keeping it simple, so you'd use all the sort of standard chords. Instead, it's all on the lower 3 strings, and it's quite intimately placed. So you're not getting any of the top strings sort of getting in the way. They're not there, and that's really nice. And the majority of you will know I love playing fingerstyle guitar. I rarely use a plectrum. So from what my ears tell me, the guitarist who played on this record was just using their hands, not a plectrum. And I like the way it's sort of clustered chords. So he actually very much relies on guitar in his music, and I guess that's probably another reason why I love his music so much. And it's just another way of just bringing guitar again to popular music, of which it's been a staple for so long, and just sort of keeps going in and out of fashion. But I mean, Khalid is definitely bringing it back. Okay, so his voice in this song. Saturday nights, blueberry cigarillos, swishes make my throat hurt. Rolling those CBs on the side for me, light 'em up and let 'em both burn. I would say he is being relatively laid back in his pronunciation in this song. He is not spelling out each word, and he is he's not being particularly clear. So actually, for me, I would have to take a look at the lyrics and exactly see what he is saying. But it's kind of that sort of laid back element and the sultriness that I think is also one of the key parts of his voice. And he does have this vocal fry element, which I would usually steer all singers away from. And I would also say, because of this being a slightly later song in comparison to his first album, he uses it less and less, as maybe he's maturing as a singer, maybe he's getting vocal training, because it can be a bit damaging to your voice. But he sort of uses it as an effect too, to almost give a bit of a nonchalance to what he's singing about. And I would say he's a very emotive singer. So he's not trying to be the clearest singer. He's not trying to shove those lyrics down your throat. Instead, he's just sort of singing it as though he were just singing it to himself. So I think that's kind of like a distinctive thing about him. But then he has such a good voice that he can really project. And we'll talk a little bit more later about his range. Khalid has worked with a dream list of producers that obviously, that's what a label facilitates. They have the budgets. So the production on this is exquisite. Very simple and intimate at the beginning, just him and a guitar. Then there are clicks, which I always think, clicks are a tool because it's a percussion element that everyone can do. So if you're thinking about ways of actually getting people to click to your music, then probably just include clicks. Very easy to record. Then he has the vinyl crackle, which is obviously very, very popular in productions nowadays, has been for the last few years. And then it sort of builds into a sort of bass line. Then I would say the guitar remains detailed. It remains that sort of spelled out chord, only really in the verses. And then the choruses are a bit simpler. It's just the sort of chord strummed through. The drums come in the second verse, and they're made up of percussive elements that some are very intimate and very close in the production, and then also reverberating in the background. And that's a cool production technique. It's not, you don't have to have all your drums sounding from the same room anymore. Not that you ever had to do that on purpose, whatever. It was just kind of the way it was done. But, now there are just sort of different elements, and it's this sort of sonic landscape that's just a little bit more interesting. Then there's the element of I care about you, which he repeats. It's almost like a hook in itself. He introduces another hook at the end of the song, which again is just clever songwriting. Just have something that people will be humming and humming after the song is finished, make them want to play it again. And he doesn't bring in all the elements. He doesn't bring in the full band element until 2 minutes and 50 seconds. So this whole song is just a build-up. And it does its job, doesn't it? It's a good song. I really, really love it. So go listen to Saturday Nights. But now we're going to move on to Talk, and I'm going to put the guitar away and try and play a synth part. So wish me luck. Can we just talk? Can we just talk? Okay, let's talk about the song. Khalid wrote this with Disclosure. Disclosure produced it, 2 British lads, so represent. The opening chord progression is cool. I really, really like it. It's F major 9, E minor 7. Wait, I should probably just play it rather than just talking through chord names. That's boring, isn't it? F major 9. I'm going to change this to a piano so that we don't get sick and tired of that synth sound. I did actually learn how to make that synth sound through a YouTube video, which I'll link below. But very cool, just on Ableton. It was great. It was fun. It was fun messing with an oscillator. Because this is actually quite like a low part, I've just lowered this smaller keyboard down an octave, just so you know. F major 9, E minor 7, D minor 7, and then little E minor 7, C over E, D minor 7, and then when it goes into the verse, it sort of ends on an F major 7 over 9, something like that. So it's kind of, full of ninths, sevenths, suspended chords, and usually, And this is not really a critique at all, because this song has gone on to be extremely popular, and really, who cares about harmonic analysis when you have 50 million plus streams under your belt? But that bass line is a little bit boring. And usually I would suggest working in contrary motion. So you would always have your chords, if they're going down like they are in this, you'd have the bass line coming up. But here, it just doesn't matter. They just, they've made a killer beat, killer chord sequence, great hook, and it's just amounted into a massive hit. The lyrics are very, very simple. Can we just talk? Can we just talk about where we're going before we get lost? Lend me your thoughts, can get what we want without knowing. I've never felt like this before. I apologize if I'm moving too far. Can we just talk? Can we just talk? Figure out where we're going. Okay, so it begins with the chorus. That's cool. It's not just sort of starting out with the storytelling verse. It's like, just get into the main thing that will get people singing the song. The lyrics are about the beginning honeymoon stages of a relationship, very universal. Usually you would get to a point in a relationship where you would have to confront the other person and be like, what is this? So very, very universal storyline. The beat is mid-tempo, very groovy, a little bit swung. And yeah, it just immediately makes me move. But the thing I love about this song the most, and you could probably tell by me just singing it just then, is the melody. And they have made a hook that basically anyone can sing, because it's over quite a wide range. And so there's probably an element, whether or not your range is 2 octaves, which is basically the range of the song, you can probably sing the chorus. You might not be able to sing the verse, especially if you're like me and it gets quite low. But the chorus, very catchy for anyone. So I would definitely say that the best hooks are usually the easiest for everyone to sing. So if you happen to have a lower range and you're trying to make a hook, but you're singing down here, there aren't that many, I guess, women that would be able to sing that low in a catchy way. So make sure you actually bring it up the octave. So la 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 la. Even that can be a bit low. So just la 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 la. And this song, I want to say, we'll find out later if I'm actually right, that the range of the song is here to here. So, that's the chorus melody is just over an octave. I think it goes from G to A, but then including the verse, it goes down to that A down there. Really stripped back in production. There are synths, the beat, great vocals. It's pretty sparse, especially when you think about Disclosure's other music, and I know that they've done remixes of this song. So yeah, I think the melody is really, 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 really striking. So I'm just gonna play it through really simply and maybe sing it. Da 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 da, ba 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 ba, ba da ba ba da da, do 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 do, ba da ba ba da 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 da. Never felt. Then he remains within that range and he doesn't go below than that G. Felt before. I apologize if I'm moving too far. Da ba da 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 da. See how low he goes? So again, again, I guess it's kind of, the verse is also that A, but he starts up here, he gets up to here in the chorus, and then he's going down here. That's the lowest note that he hits in the verse. So for a pop song to have a melody, one vocal melody, one vocalist, to go over those 2 octaves is not all that common. It's been done, obviously, but it's not all that common. And That's pretty cool. That's what makes him interesting to me. I love the range of his voice. And with that, I'm going to pick up my guitar again. We're kind of going to drift back into Saturday nights, because I want to show you a songwriting exercise that I do that helps you build melodies that are slightly more interesting than maybe you would automatically go to when you're writing a song. So let my guitar just magically appear. If we take the Saturday nights chord progression, I'll strip it, I'll make it the sort of simpler version, so it's a bit more universal. So I would suggest singing up and down the scale. So if you have that chord structure and you're like, okay, this is a nice song, and I see where this is going, I've got some lyrics in mind, what you might automatically do, and what I automatically do, is sing da 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 da. I might really stay just within those three notes, when really it'd be better for me. So if I'm gonna share my vulnerability, and this is kind of what I do in songwriting, is go da 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 da. That was improvised and it was okay. You would probably take that and obviously expand on it and make sure that it fits to the lyrics, and it just means that you're being a little bit more adventurous with your melody writing, and it just helps you stay away from that sort of one note melody that is so often used. Obviously it might require you working on your vocal range, but we all know there are exercises to help with that. And also it just comes down to comfort too. Like, what are you comfortable? Are you comfortable writing for yourself? Is it for you? That are you singing the song, or is it for someone else? So it just helps you avoid your songs all sounding the same. I wonder if I can do a better job. Probably not. That's a bit extreme too. But anyway, so I hope you maybe take that exercise and run with it and see where you go with your melody lines. Right, moving on to a song that was on his most recent record called Alive, which is beautiful. The lyrics are very, very pensive, and I would say he's talking about depression, and you know, it's a very mature subject for someone so young. I think he has experienced this, and you know, he's writing from the heart here. So unread texts and missed calls, told everyone I turned my phone off, didn't ask for help, and now I'm lost. Life comes in phases, consequences and mistakes. I'm sorry that it's taken me so long. So I'm gonna try and sing through this. Again, this one is very, very low. Unread texts and missed calls, told everyone I turned my phone off, didn't ask for help, and now I'm lost. Life comes in phases, consequences and mistakes. I'm so sorry that it's taken me so long. Mister, please let off your powers. Give me half an hour, or better yet a full. Only sweet until it all comes sour. But life is what you make it, and then there's more to know. Gatekeeper, can you show me more to life? Mainly I've been living out of sight. Grim Reaper, just give me one more night. I need another chance to say goodbye. I shouldn't have to die to feel alive. So the chords are far more sophisticated in this song than in the other. E, D sharp minor, G sharp minor, B. Then the chorus is E major, F sharp major, B major. And then it's kind of like a passing note, sort of D sharp minor, and then G sharp minor. But then there's a change from, all the E majors through the song to E minor. I shouldn't have to die to feel alive, which, is a pivotal moment of the song. It's a bit of a twist. So the guitar chord introduction, it's really filtered in the production, and it sort of crescendos into a clearer sound. Lots of sound design. The bass line comes in at the bridge. There are filtered drums. They're really, really held back. It never goes too big. It's always kind of held back. The turnaround on the important lyric, I shouldn't have to die to feel alive, second time is a variation on the melody, and it becomes a cappella. So it cuts off the chords. I shouldn't have to die to feel alive. And that's how the song ends. So it's sort of, it's drifting a lot. It's sort of this, Mister, please let off your powers. Give me half an hour. Those sorts of tools just really hit you emotionally. He sings in sort of falsetto. There are harmonies which actually aren't just sort of harmonies stuck over the main melody. They're almost like a counter melody in their own right. And I just think it's a really, really important theme, important topic, important song, and it was on his second album. So again, it's in that playlist. But I just wanted to share the love I feel for that song, Alive. Final song that we're going to take a look at is Out of My Head, which features John Mayer on the guitar. So it's really, really groovy, simple bass, drum and snare beat, really, really simple, but just creates a hook within the lyrics because the song is really catchy, and then it's also called Out of My Head, so can't get you out of my head. Okay, so the guitar solo, and this is why John Mayer is so excellent when he contributes to other people's music, because he doesn't just rip a shreddy solo over something just to show off. He makes it singable, and I'm going to demonstrate by just singing along. You might not even be able to hear actually what is going on, but here we go. This is the guitar solo, so definitely go and listen to this. That was probably so awful for you to watch, but it just sort of shows, like, he starts at one point and then he sort of just drifts further down, and then when he knows he has to reach that sort of critical point, he goes really crazy high on the guitar. And that's just something to remember. In pop music, guitar solos aren't there just to be guitar solos. They need to bring something else to it. They need to bring a different melody, hook, something interesting that makes them, if they're taking up valuable time in a 3.5 minute song. In this case, this song is under 3 minutes, and yet it features a guitar solo. Sadly, whether we care to admit it or not, songs aren't everything when it comes to an artist's career. An artist in the music business, there has to be a sort of business element. So although this isn't really talking per se about the industry, I would say there are definitely some things that lead to an artist's career that don't just involve having good songs. So he's 22, hasn't been around that long. His family moved around a lot, and I think that kind of like gives him a bit of a story. So he's seen quite a lot of the world and travelled quite a lot for a 22-year-old, and settled in El Paso, Texas. He then posted early works to SoundCloud, a bit similar to Billie Eilish, and that's where he gained popularity and built his audience. And, obviously he collaborated with Billie Eilish too. I'll talk more on that later, but he was discovered by the VP of A&R at RCA Records. So he's now part of a subsidiary, Right Hand Music Group of RCA. It's a very rare story. It doesn't happen that often. You don't often get found, whether it was MySpace, which was popular back in my day, or SoundCloud or YouTube. Although it really, really helps you having that platform, it doesn't necessarily immediately mean you're going to be picked up by a major label. However, the story is, is important. You can't just expect to be discovered in your bedroom. You have to be putting music out into the world. So if you're thinking about releasing songs, then hopefully by now you will see so many different ways to be able to put out your music. And, start documenting your development too. But then also be aware that the internet is not a great place to develop publicly, especially if you start gaining popularity. You might find yourself trapped in that certain realm. So really think about what you want, how you want to be perceived as an artist before you start putting music out there. Otherwise, you might get caught in a bubble. Location was co-written by himself, which was like his first big hit that was found on SoundCloud, and a handful of producers, so some musicians in El Paso and then Atlanta, and he's now one of the biggest artists on Spotify. So he actually didn't do the gigging route, and obviously right now gigging is not possible, but he had only played 4 shows before he got discovered. So I guess he kind of learnt by a baptism of fire of now having performed on so many world stages, so many different award ceremonies. He's got 2 records and an EP, and he has been Grammy nominated, 5-6 times. So that's pretty cool. He also started out, I guess, before he did his own headline tours, he was supporting Lorde, who he also cites as an influence. And the genre that he is in and the age he is at is very popular. That sort of pop, soul, very current music. He's not making older sounding music. It's very, very current, using electronic drums, using modern production. And, that's just another part that plays in his popularity. Then the themes, his storytelling, his lyrics. I've already gone on about how good his lyrics are, but they're emotional topics. So yes, they're about being in love, which, so many people write about. But he also writes about being young, because that's what he knows, being disillusioned. He talks about depression. He talks about the social and political climate. He confronts relevant topics. They're very timely topics, and they're relevant to people of his age. Is it the James Joyce quote where it's, in the particular lies the universal? So the more niche you get with your songwriting, the more universally accepted it might be, no matter how individual you think your experience is. And that's kind of what I like about Saturday Nights, like that relationship with a friend or a lover, knowing something about them that their parents don't know. We've all had that friend. So, just think about that with your songwriting too. And I just think it just equates to those huge numbers of listeners, because with all the label backing in the world, if that music doesn't speak to an audience, then it's not going to have an audience. His distinctive features in his voice and his sound, I would say the vocal fry element, in my opinion, is almost being phased out. He did a lot of that young, especially in Young, Dumb and Broke. He's just sort of very lazy, and he's just sort of doing this vocal fry, but singing it. Very laid back pronunciation. He has this beautiful vocal range. He switches into falsetto, sounds so easy and effortless. I think his range is like, if that's middle C, I think he's low G to B flat, the B flat above middle C. So that range for a pop star is, again, quite rare. And I found this beautiful thing that Alicia Keys had written about him when he was nominated for a Grammy. And she describes him as understandable, emotional and soulful, with a full, powerful voice that is somehow unassuming and smooth at the same time. So yeah, I couldn't phrase it better. So his work ethic, when you are a solo artist, The person who is going to care most, no matter how supportive you think your parents, your manager, your record label, no matter how supportive you think they are, you're your biggest fan. So you have to put in the work if you want to go places. And from the sounds of it, it sounds like he just worked really, really hard, because although he was 18 years old when he was discovered, which is so young, he'd already built an audience. There was no reason to wait. The record label even said, the VP of the record label said, he was like, there was no reason to wait. He already had a fan base. He was already developed. He was already putting out loads and loads of music. And then he has this underdog element, and I guess it's from being the new guy or the different schools he went to. He loves being underestimated. He loves being challenged. And there's this beautiful quote, which I will include right now.
I started writing songs. I kind of got the confidence to put it on SoundCloud. What I would say, just kept that drive, was the first person to publicly say that they hated the songs. I love when people tell me that I can't do something, because that just makes me want to do it even more.
That sums up his attitude towards this whole industry. It sounds like he's going to be working hard at this for a very, very long time. And it's a big lesson to learn so young, that not everyone is going to love your work. Okay, so wrapping up, his influences: Kendrick Lamar, he even contributed uncredited vocals to The Heart Part 4, Frank Ocean, James Blake, Lord, and then one of his songs, Heaven, reminds me of Hosier, Hosier's Take Me to Church. He is so soulful with his voice, and, you know, as the Frank Ocean influence, again, just really tasteful songwriting, melodic songwriting, interesting lyrics, just so many things in common. Then you think of all the artists, so he's collaborated a lot, and this is another tool. So alongside all the songwriting lessons we can learn, collaborations, collaborating with other songwriters, not being afraid to co-write, not being afraid to co-produce, and then featuring on other people's record. Like this list that he is, so he's collaborated with Ed Sheeran, Billie Eilish, Martin Garrix, Logic, Marshmello, Benny Blanco and Halsey, Shawn Mendes, Normani, and then obviously had, you know, someone like John Mayer feature on one of his records. It's a tool to facilitate reaching a whole new audience. So he's been very, very busy in such a small amount of time. And wrapping up this whole video, the things I love about him are the melancholy, the emotions. They really resonate with me. I love his songs. He uses all the tools you possibly can with music, of which they're all there, they're laid out, and you can use them in your music too, to bear emotion. And alongside that, he has good stories to tell. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you loved my sort of overview of Khalid's career and analysis of some of his songs. I really, really appreciate you getting to this point. If you haven't already, please subscribe. Please like this video. Let me know in the comments who you'd like me to look at next. Otherwise, I'll see you very soon. Out across the water, you chose to live alone. Keep yourself busy, you can't be caught by phone. Your mind entertains you, no friends to ever leave. Waves crash around you, no time to feel.